Well, our topic today is hygiene routines, and we're gonna just basically cover a couple of different routines that you can use at home. And it can be, you can kind of adapt these routines to anything it needs to be. So if you're working on toothbrushing, if you're working on toileting, if you're working on washing your hands, brushing your hair, washing your face, these kind of routines, you can just, adapt them to whatever it is that you need to do. We're gonna go over some specific strategies to help you with that, so.
This is us, if
That's
you're just
us.
walking in.
Yeah.
Sarah Carter, Parent Liaison, and
Cristina Candelario, Occupational Therapist.
thanks for being here.
So, in order for your child to be successful, we do need to be able to support both environments. As I mentioned earlier, Sarah and I have worked a lot on helping teachers and parents generalize skills between school and home. So that's why we thought this was a good opportunity to talk more in depth about these topics. Routines have to be carried out with fidelity both at home and school. So it's very important, for instance, if we're working on toileting, I know that, our learners are at school for at least 8 hours a day, so it's a really good place to introduce a routine. But, when they go home, just having that same routine in place and that same expectation and the same sequencing of steps, that's really going to help be able to generalize those skills faster, and especially on the weekends when they're home. We just wanna make sure that we're keeping up with those routines in both environments, just so that they are getting that, getting used to that in both settings. It's important to set realistic expectations. Start small and focus on one thing at a time. I know it's as a parent, it's so hard to get overwhelmed with everything you're trying to get your child to do and be more independent at, and so, it's just important to focus on one thing. So if that's gonna be teeth brushing, if that's gonna be hand washing, whatever it is, let's just start small and then we can expand, okay? Regardless of your child's levels and abilities, we can always introduce a hygiene routine, and that's very important. Hygiene is something that keeps us clean, it keeps us safe, and it's something that's very important for them as they age. Their participation level might vary, but again, we're gonna start with some just basic steps, and then we can always expand and build on those skills. So toileting, before you begin a toileting routine, it's important to just kind of have some baseline data, just understanding some things about your child as far as what they're, how often they're going, when, if they're asking to go, those kinds of things. Also setting up a meeting with the child's teacher so that you can have a consistent approach. If you as a parent decide, this is something that we really want to start and this is important to us, whether it could be something as simple as transitioning from pull-ups to underwear during the day and then just wearing pull-ups at night, or whatever it is, it's important to talk to the teacher about it. And you might have teachers that also reach out to you and say, listen, I think your child is going to be a good candidate to start trying a toileting routine. So just, working together so that we can have a consistent approach in both settings. Okay, is the bathroom a place where your child wants to be? So this is where we kind of do our buy-in with our kids. Just involving them. It's always important to involve them, with choices, if they're making choices for breaks, or even like, clothing, colors, whatever you can do to help them have a little bit of control. But in the bathroom, there's a lot of things you can do to involve them in that we've had a lot of success with our kids. So letting them be able to pick out favorite soaps, a really soft rug, fuzzy rug for the floor, hand towels if you want to do colorful hand towels, preferable seating. You can have, stools if you need stools in there for kids, or step ladders for them to access the sink or the toilet a little bit easier. You can have stickers and different kinds of reinforcers. You can have posters. I know a lot of times books in a little basket is a good idea, just so that when the kids are sitting and going to the bathroom, they have something to read or look at, magazines, those kinds of things. Or you can sit and read with them when it's time for them to sit and try to go to the bathroom. So those are some things that we've had success with. You know, just if your kids have a favorite color, if they have a favorite scent, or you can offer them 2 different scents and see which one they like. I know some kids like the gel, you know, like body wash with some kind of loofah, something that is soft, and you know, this is a really great object symbol too, to let them know it's bath time, or to let them know that, you know, now it's time to get into the shower. Some kids like bar soap. I think bar soap is really great because it really gets the kids, it gives them some input in their hands, and it gives them some input on their arms, so they can really feel the soap, they can see it lather, and it just feels good. So, and of course, you know, soaps come in different sizes and different colors and scents, so that's something you can play with as well. Having a designated place for toileting reinforcers. So make them easily visible and readily available. So if you are using stickers, or you're using M&Ms or Cheerios or whatever it is, just having that there so that they can see it, so that they know that's what they're working for and that's what they're going to earn. And you can have them in a fun storage bin or basket, you know, like a little treasure chest. Just make it fun and exciting. Select those toileting supports and have them on hand to help you. So timers, visuals, data sheets, wet wipes. Wet wipes are a great tool to use, especially for kiddos who are learning to clean themselves more thoroughly and more independently. You know, that's a great strategy that we recommend with our teachers and also our parents, and of course, you know, using the flushable ones, which are going to be easier. Data sheets are something that our teachers use, especially in the beginning when we're trying to collect data and we're trying to get a good routine down for toileting, and it's information that we can send home as well, so that you know what we're seeing on a regular basis, how often we're going, how often we're having an accident. So we have some data sheets here available that we can go over a little bit more in depth later, but it's something that you can take home and just kind of see what it is that we like to use here, and it's something that you can use at home as well. Visuals, that's a really big one, and that's, as you know, that's something that we use in our classrooms just to help kids have that visual prompt to be more independent, to get that routine done. So we have a toileting routine, and Sarah was nice enough to print these up for boy, and then we have one for a girl, so the pictures are a little bit different. But this is just a great resource to have, and you can have it posted somewhere in the bathroom. So for the hand washing one that we have, you can have it posted by the sink. In most of our classrooms we have that for our kiddos, and then this is the toileting one. Sometimes you can adapt it where we have the pictures enlarged, and the kids have to stick it on the Velcro every time they finish it, or they just need to point and they know where they're going. So again, it depends on the skill level, but this is just a great resource for you to have to know. And sometimes we just start with getting into the bathroom. You know, sometimes that's the hardest part. Some of our kids just still want to go in their pull-up, or they, you know, they're only going to go to the bathroom at home. They don't want to use the bathroom at school. So sometimes it's just, let's go into the bathroom, turn on the light, turn it off, and then leave. You know, we've had to start as basic as that. Absolutely. This routine just says enter the bathroom, pull your pants down, pull underwear down, sit on the toilet, go to the bathroom, we wipe, we flush the toilet, we pull up our underwear, we pull our pants up. Okay, and that's a lot of steps if you look at it. When you see it written out like this, you're like, wow, that is a lot of steps. But little by little we add on it, and that's why we're here to help you. So that's why it's important to have that consistent communication and routines set up in both environments, so that we can have success for our kiddos.
And kind of like you're saying, to help with the generalizing, some of it is even just the language. Like if at school they're saying go to the bathroom, and at home you're saying go potty, even though we know it means the same thing, sometimes your child may not have the same connection. So that's why it's really important, if you are wanting to try and introduce a routine, to get on the same page, so we're all using the same consistent language and verbiage at school and at home, and it makes it so much easier for your child to generalize that skill.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say one thing. I know I was talking to a dad one time, and he was like, well, at our house we have a bidet, and that was great. But at school and in restaurants, they didn't have one. And so just saying like that may be only something that you can use in that one environment, and it may not be able to spread across all environments. Just something to consider. That it is helpful,
Yeah.
but it's just not always available as well.
Right. And that's good information for us to know too, so that we can work together to figure out how to make that work.
So question, like
Yes.
when you have children who generalize, okay, that's fine, but like when you have a child who won't generalize, like will only use the home toilet,
Mm-hmm.
and even if like they work on it at school, I mean, it's really challenging to get around that. Do you have any tips for that? I mean.
Well, again, just working with the teacher on what your steps are, what the setup is at home, and how we can just make it more interesting and motivating for them to go to the bathroom at school. And like I said, it might not be just using the bathroom, it might be just going into the bathroom, maybe starting washing hands in the bathroom, just figuring out a little bit more, like teasing out a little bit
But like
more.
outside of school, like
Oh.
if you're going to a restaurant or the airport or what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
And
that's really challenge. That's where
Yes,
the
it
challenge
is. Yes, it is. And a lot of times kiddos get really scared with the automatic toilets,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they're flushing before they even get to sit down. So that's really tricky. So again, I mean, does your child have a good toileting routine at school? Are they able to use the bathroom at school or no?
So the one child that I've had the most difficulty with, it took years to get him to use the bathroom at school, and he only did number 1. And then
Okay.
when we moved,
Yeah.
he no longer uses any toilet for number 2. So he would only number 2 in our home,
Right.
and he's like almost 8. Like, he's huge, so I mean, it's a big problem.
Sure.
We can't get him with as much there, we can't get him to like generalize sometimes, and I don't know what to do about that,
That's hard.
you know?
That is hard, and it's just a process, you know.
I would say too, does your child only use one bathroom at home? So they can go in any
Can go
bathroom in the
anywhere,
home?
yeah.
Okay, cause usually that sometimes if they're only used to, like, they have a familiar chain or sequence in one toilet in your house, like practicing in the other bathrooms, there are some kids that just don't prefer to have bowel movements in public settings, which if,
That's kind of the way it was no big deal as long as he could go at home, but then
Uh-huh.
when you move, and they don't have that familiar home potties, they won't generalize it to the new house sometimes, and that's a big problem. So I don't know, if
That
you
is
think of any
hard.
tips, let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I will say, like, you know, the stimulation in a public restroom is not, you know, when we go to the restroom at home, there's no one sitting next to us in the stall that's also going to the restroom. I did work with a young lady, and similar thing, they really just wanted to go to church and then go to a restaurant afterwards and to go to eat, and they wanted her to be able to do it. The sensory of the hand dryers was a little overstimulating. The multiple flushing of toilets at multiple times was overstimulating. So what we did was, we would
at
go
school, right, you practice this?
at school, we would say, you're gonna go, and we would flush every single toilet. And she was 5, and she would have to sit there, and we would just hold hands in the bathroom, and she would have to get used to the sounds. We would go push on every single hand dryer. We would turn on all of the sinks on. Really give that heavy sensory input that she did not prefer. That was something she didn't like. We started with, I said, I'm gonna let you go in the stall, and I would put my foot under her stall so she knew I was there. And she would put her foot next to my foot so that I would show her comfort. And this took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And after those weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of practicing, she was able to do it. But we had to figure out what was keeping her from it. And it was a lot of the sound. Post-it notes, throw that in your purse, put that over that automatic flush. It won't automatic flush. You know, so little things like that. And it may take time, but those are some suggestions of just making sure they feel the sensory input, and we would just.
So
Build the
that's something we can
tolerance.
speak with the IEP team to work on, 'cause I didn't know we could do that.
Definitely. And maybe afterwards we can talk a little bit more about some specific things. Yeah, I made a couple of notes.
Okay.
Yeah. That is hard. That's very challenging. Yeah. Okay, toileting supports. We already talked about the visuals, wet wipes. Timers, that's a great one to use. You can use it on your iPhone, you can use a visual timer. A lot of our teachers have a huge success with timers. And I find, I don't know, Sarah, what you think, but a lot of kids love to wash their hands and play with the water. And so a lot of times we use our timer to limit that, just so that they know, we have this amount of time to wash our hands and then it's over. And if water play is a big motivator for them, that's something we can certainly implement as a break or something that they can do in the classroom later. But when we go to the bathroom, or if we're specifically washing our hands, before lunch, or because we were playing with something dirty, whatever it is, the timer's a good one to use. And it can also be a good one to use in general. If a child is more independent with going into the bathroom, they can set the timer, they go in, they take care of what they need to do, and then they come out. But they know that we can't be in the bathroom for, 30 minutes, 15 minutes.
And I would say too, just along kind of Misty's point, when we're working on like building tolerance, if they're aversive to sit on the toilet, sometimes just like you said, kind of building up the skill to, okay, they have lots of fun visual timers that will count down and a picture is shown at the end. So like letting your child watch the timer go down, and maybe they're only gonna sit for a minute. Maybe after that, we're gonna build up to 2 or 5 minutes, or timers can be useful kind of in all steps of the process, whether you're building tolerance or increasing independence. They're an easy tool, and like you said, you can have it on your phone, so it goes with you anywhere.
Agreed. Yeah. All right, some more. I already mentioned books. It's great to have just a little basket or a bucket of books so that the kids can look at something when they're sitting. Again, you can go in and read to them if they're, especially the little ones, or you can just let them pick something and flip through the pages and look. Flexible seating, just making sure that they are able to access the toilet. They don't need anything that additional support to be able to sit, to be comfortable on the seat if they're too small to be sitting on the seat, if they can't reach the seat, those kinds of things. And then of course we talked about reinforcements, having those on the wall or available so that they can see it and then they can know what they're working for. Okay. Regular underpants. Okay. No more diapers or pull-ups when you're toilet training. That's really hard. And if you're, and again, baby steps, if you're working up to something, maybe you are just wearing pull-ups at night, maybe you're just wearing pull-ups for a certain part of the day, etc. But this is another great area for a buy-in with your kids. They can pick out their underwear. That's usually a big motivator for them. But this is something that you'll talk again more with your teacher as far as when is going to be the best time to either phase those out or to have a better schedule for them. You may have to reinforce your child in tolerating and adjusting to wearing underwear. That's a big one. It's usually thinner than a pull-up, so it feels different when you put it on. When you're wearing it, same thing. So that can be an issue too for some kids. And like I said, letting your child pick their underwear out is usually a big motivator for them. Another thing too, I don't know if I skipped over it, but we had talked about in the bathroom, a lot of our teachers, and I know at home we make this recommendation too, is just having like a cubby with little drawers. So you do have the underwear, you do have maybe an extra change of shorts or clothing so that they can have access to it, whether they have an accident or not. Again, if you're building up baby steps and we're just doing a routine of getting into the bathroom, it's just a good way for them to have a little bit more independence and to know where those materials are. Okay, teaching a toileting routine. You gotta talk about it before you start. You can read books with them, have conversations about it before you start the toilet training, and that's something that the teachers can do at school as well. Be intentional about how you phrase your conversations. A lot of times we ask, do you need to go potty? And a lot of our kids don't even understand what that means yet. So, phrasing it as a reminder, don't forget if you have to pee, there's the toilet. A lot of times just having it built in the schedule. I know that's how we do it at school, just automatically going, at certain times during the day so that they can get used to that routine. And not reprimanding for accidents, that's a big one. When we're learning something new, it's hard. And these kids are trying to process so many different things, not just trying to learn a toileting skill. So just making sure that, again, you have change of clothes accessible for them to be able to change, and you just keep going with your schedule. And if you have to modify the schedule because you notice that something's frustrating them and they are going to the bathroom beforehand, or maybe they're drinking a lot of water on the bus and they're having, an accident on the bus, or when they first get to school, just looking at all those things and trying to tease out what we can do to help decrease accidents. Start with one toilet. Master toilet training with the same toilet first, like Sarah mentioned earlier about, at home, are they using just one toilet or will they go to any toilet? And then generalizing to other toilets in your house. And then of course, if you're gonna take it the next step, doing it in public, so.
And I would warn them, like, with those automatic flushing, the toilets for little kids, they're really big. And I know the kids, they were like, I don't want to fall in the toilet. And, I think that they get nervous. So preparing is helpful.
And so many times just modeling, or also videos. So many of our kids relate to watching videos. So if you watch a video about, I know there's a lot of great resources of Elmo going to the bathroom.
I have some linked at the end too. Like, I know Daniel Tiger is really popular. They have like a toileting episode. So like, again, when we get to the end, we kind of have some books linked and like a few episodes linked too. So like she said, sometimes seeing the visual of their favorite cartoon character or something that's highly interesting to them can help.
And familiar, absolutely. So reinforcement, always choose something that's motivating for your child, and a lot of times this is a great place to include some control. Do you want to work for this or do you want to work for that? It's the same kind of strategy that a lot of times we use at school. You may have to try a few before you find what works best. I find that sometimes the reinforcer that you use in the bathroom is, make it a really high reinforcer and they only get it at that time.
Yes.
So if it's M&Ms, if it's Cheerios, if it's pretzels, if it's gummy bears, whatever it is, stickers, make sure that's the only time you're using that particular reinforcer. So it's highly motivating. You may have to change the reinforcement over time. Of course, you might have to, increase the value, if you will. Reinforcing your child immediately after they urinate in the toilet. I've had teachers sing songs. I've had to, they get to watch a favorite video, hear a favorite song, get to play with a favorite toy, get that immediate reinforcement of the food. So any of those, as long as they're immediate, that's really important. Limit access to the reinforcement to toilet only. We already talked about that. That's just making sure that we're using that in that environment so that we can increase our chances for being able to increase those skills and be more independent.
And I will just say, we went really into depth on this first toileting routine, but you'll see we kind of use this similar approach to how you would introduce toileting to how you would do a lot of these other self-help routines. So like the first one is very in-depth, just to kind of go through the process of preparing the environment, giving your child choices, supports that you might need, and then kind of the process to teach it. So that, like I said, this one was a little bit long just because toileting has a lot of steps, but once you kind of use the same kind of like process and approaching how to introduce a hygiene routine, you'll see we're going to use kind of the same approach with all these other different skills.
And I know that you had mentioned that when you moved, you saw a big change, a big disruption, and that's something that we see a lot with our kids. I know that we have a learner at one of our campuses that they recently moved, and all of a sudden she was having accidents in her again. And so we kind of had to start, back at square one to start with a routine and just, helping her with that, because, these kiddos, like I said, they're dealing with so many other things that they're trying to process and understand. And so, sometimes we might see bedwetting again at night. We might see a disruption with any of these routines. It could be behavior, it could be anything, eating. So just being mindful of that. So if there are changes at home, if mom or dad are going to be traveling for an extended amount of time, if we have grandparents that are moving in, if somebody is sick, if we've moved, those are all things that can affect our kiddos and disrupt any of the routines. So.
So next we'll kind of go into hand washing. So kind of the same approach, we want to prepare the environment, so, Christina kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, involving your child in like the process and the preparation, so she kind of, again, brought some like different soaps. It could be colors, it could be if it foams, or if it's gel, like she said, bar soaps, that you can have them in different shapes, different smells. Maybe they don't like any smells and you need unscented, like there's a lot of kind of options and variety. And then, again, we're gonna gather necessary visual supports, and reminders. Having a timer, like she mentioned, is really handy. And then, you can go to the next one. Again, we kind of touched on this a little bit, water play. Sometimes your children might be very motivated by playing in the water, and that's great. That can be kind of some built-in reinforcement after they go through the routine. But we do wanna make sure that we're separating water play from actual hand washing. And water play is very beneficial. It can aid in motor skills, sensory exploration and development, so that's definitely something if your child is interested in, we would love to utilize and kind of encourage that. You can differentiate kind of what water play is versus hand washing with, like she said, if they have, not necessarily this, but if they have a special toy, or you can kind of have it, again, built into your schedule at the end. Maybe as soon as they're done washing their hands, then they can get 2 minutes of water play with a timer. And then for the hand washing routine, again, it sounds like it's really simple, but it has a lot of steps. A lot of these routines, we have done them so much that it seems like it's kind of easy, but they are very multi-step. So this is just an example of one, turning on the water, getting their hands wet. You know, you could say how many pumps of soap they want, or if they're using bar soap, if you want them to, you know, go back and forth 3 times. Putting their hands under the water for 20 seconds. You could, if they like music, it could be singing a song. It could be, they have special timers that will play music for the amount of time that you should be washing your hands. Then rinsing, turning off the water, drying their hands. It could be paper towel if they like to throw it away. It could be a washcloth if they like to dry it. And then, like you said, if they're using a paper towel, throwing that into the garbage.
And I've had parents, sorry to interrupt, I've had parents send up towels, like hand towels that they use at home, because, you know, at home we usually use towels, not paper towels.
Right.
And some kids don't like the way paper towels feel. And you know, paper towels at school is like a whole other step because we have those crank ones. So a lot of our teachers are great about either having, you know, already ripped pieces of paper towels or towels, hand towels. So if there's something special you want to send from home that's familiar to them, and I know again, once you start using public restrooms, there we go again. We've got the hand dryers, we've got sometimes paper towels. So, you know, just start small. Start with generalizing the skill between home and school. So if there's something that you use at home that's working, then maybe we can incorporate it at school too.
Perfect. Toothbrushing.
Everyone's favorite. I think that's harder than toileting sometimes.
Yeah. So, start again. We're gonna prepare the environment. Involving your child in preparations, and all of these is key. There's lots of different variety and options with brushing your teeth also. Did you wanna show some
Different
stuff?
flavored toothpaste, you know, they've got toothpaste with every character under the sun, so you can do that. Again, favorite color toothbrushes if you want them to pick it out. If your child can tolerate it, and you know, they don't have an issue with any kind of vibration or anything like that, but these, you know, the toothbrushes that are vibrating and just to help be able to clean a little bit better, and they get a little bit of input, and you know, that's something usually that they enjoy. And also, you know, sometimes just having them be familiar with it, like have this sitting out around the house, not just in the bathroom, something that they can pick up and just kind of hold and feel. You know, it doesn't have to be something that we just put in our mouth in the bathroom, something that's a little bit more familiar. I know with infants a lot of times, that's what we suggest, you know, just having little things that they can chew on, and then, you know, when they have it in their mouth, you can just start moving it around their gum line just so that they can get used to that sensation. So just having these available around the house, you know, just so that they can pick up and just be more familiar with, and sometimes it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. So teaching toothbrushing, there's kind of like she said, there's different, it's very multi-step, and like she said, it can be aversive, it can feel weird, especially if they don't like the sensation. So you probably would start with, you're probably having to brush your child's teeth first. They're seeing you brush your own teeth, so that's already a good visual model for them. And then you can, like you said, if you have the toothbrushes lying around and you want them to just practice tolerating the toothbrush in their mouth, you can have them brush a doll's teeth. You can have, like, here's an example of, you could practice with, I'm not gonna use the toothbrush and get it dirty, but if you have something like this where they have to practice scrubbing the plaque off the teeth with a toothbrush, like, it doesn't have to necessarily just be straight to them brushing all their own teeth themselves. So practicing on things are good. At the end, I've also linked some other additional teeth brushing resources, like one, they kind of use some empty yogurt cups and have them placed on a mat, and then you take the toothbrush and you have to practice brushing really big teeth, so it's easier to see and you can turn and get the motion and see how much pressure you need. There's different fun, I think Disney and Oral-B collaborated on a toothbrush with a built-in like video timer for their favorite character. So it'll be like a 2-minute kind of song with their favorite character, and it kind of has some rewards built in. So there's lots of resources out there to make teeth brushing a little bit more interesting and motivating to your child. Like she said, maybe they don't like the flavor of the toothpaste, maybe they don't like the color of the toothpaste. Just kind of experimenting and trial and error to find like what fits best. Again, timers are super helpful. Yep, I have a brushing timer app linked that kind of goes into some more fun specifics, and then you can go to the next one.
I was gonna say one really thing. You know the things at the dentist that they're like the little red capsules that you chew and it makes all of your teeth very fun and pink. I had my son, like, I would do it first, and then he could see like, oh, that's a lot. And I would say, tell me what, but he would get to see it on me first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it doesn't taste good. I mean, I don't like that chalky taste, but just so, and I was like, where do I need to get it? So that he was able to give me input. So a lot of the times if I let my child be the teacher to me, then he's a lot more receptive to me being the teacher to him. Because he's like, oh, I need to get back here because I told you. So sometimes if you kind of role reverse a little bit, then their buy-in increases when they're like, oh, mom needs to really brush back over here. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, you're the expert, so you get back there too.
And with the mouth, that is just such a sensitive place. I mean, that is just really hard for a lot of our kids. If you think about our kids who are having problems trying different foods, and just putting anything in your mouth, that's just it's invasive. And so sometimes it's going to be, we're practicing putting a little bit of toothpaste on a finger and just doing one good sweep, or we're going to take the toothbrush and we're just going to do 1, 2, 3 and put it down. Wherever it is that you're starting, that's okay. You can increase, but just know that right out of the gate, you don't have to start with the toothpaste and the toothbrush and the
For 2 whole minutes, and they're doing it all themselves. Yeah.
Our kid who has a lot of sensory issues with hygiene, he wouldn't brush his teeth for a long time. We had to actually do the counting, but we had to count down. Like if you did 1, 2, 3,
perfect.
that wouldn't work. But if he knew that the end was coming,
Was one, yes.
he was totally
that.
cool. Yeah.
Sometimes too, there are like some of the timers, the visual timers, you can set it and you'll see, and the timer will move down. So like if it's a red slice that's open, you see it's moving down because it's more concrete to be like, okay, I only have a little bit of time left, so that's a great strategy. It kind of the same, like talking about it, there's lots of videos that you can watch someone else brushing their teeth, another kid your child's age brushing their teeth. That helps. Brushing your teeth together, making it like a fun time, especially if you do have a timer. Okay, we're both gonna brush our teeth for 2 minutes, and you're not necessarily worried as much about how clean they're getting it at first. You're just worried about if they're involved in the process. And then like we kind of said, you could practice on, a visual, a doll, a stuffed animal, some DIY teeth.
And I will say too, this is also something, if it's appropriate to be incorporated in their schedule at school, we can do it. I mean, it's important for us to have clean teeth, when we're in public and we're with others. So if that's an issue, If we need to try it, when they get to school, after they have a quick snack at school or after lunch.
Yep.
I've had a lot of kiddos have that routine built into their schedule, especially if that's something that you're really working on at home. So be sure to talk to your teacher about that and see how we can do it. I know I have a lot of kiddos that do independent tasks with toothbrushes. They're either sorting them, they're putting them into containers, travel containers, those kinds of things. So just if that's a focus, that is something that we can look at incorporating at school as well. So don't be afraid to bring that up to your OT, your teacher, whoever it is.
And I would think too, like, don't take it personal. Sometimes it's easier to introduce things at school, especially if they have a great relationship with their teacher. Sometimes it's harder for a parent. I don't want to do it because my mom told me. But sometimes if the teacher says, hey, we're going to practice brushing our teeth, it might be received differently. And again, I know that probably stinks sometimes, but don't take that personal, because sometimes there's lots of positive peer pressure at school if they see their friends are also doing it, or they're getting encouragement from the teacher. Sometimes that can be really motivating in and of itself. So we're always, like she said, happy to, if that's something you want to work on, we're happy to work
And then
on
like
that
middle
also.
school and high school, that's, hygiene's
Yes.
it's a little bit more motivating, just because, everybody around them is, girls are using more lip gloss and makeup and, doing their hair and that kind of thing. So I've put together with teachers lots of different, routines where the kids come back from PE and they have to, clean themselves up, whether it's like a personal wipe or something, apply deodorant, brush hair, that kind of thing. We've done brush hair, lip gloss routine. I've done, if we're gonna toothbrush after we come back from lunch, just all those little things. But, especially as they get older, just, perfumes, scented lotions, deodorant, those are really important. So those are also routines that you can use kind of the same outline for as they increase their skills, and also something that you can collaborate with the teachers on as well. Dressing. Okay, we already talked about a drawer system. Dressing is really hard. It involves a lot of motor planning, sequencing, and again, it could be a big sensory issue if kids don't like wearing clothes, if they don't like wearing certain kinds of clothes.
Like
so
the pants we talked about a little bit
Yes,
before.
we
Some
did.
kids only prefer to wear shorts, even when it's 40 degrees outside.
Yep. So that's something to consider, kind of just as you are preparing your routine and thinking about how you're going to approach it, and working with the teacher, just having some of that information is important to consider. Involving your child in the preparations, setting up, if you're going to do a drawer system, I know Walmart, Container Store, Target, they all have drawer systems that, are different colors, even Michael's, that you can do, the purple drawer is underwear, the orange drawer is socks, the next drawer is, the shirt. Just having that buy-in for them. Starting the night before, trying to manage a dressing routine in the morning can be very difficult. I know it's difficult for me. It's always good for me to kind of try to plan ahead of what I'm gonna wear. So it just takes the stress off of that morning routine. So whether you are going to set it up for them and have it in a designated place where they know they're gonna go and get dressed there, or they're gonna be responsible for going and pulling it out of the drawers or the closet, just making sure you kind of do that the night before so it's prepped and ready. Maybe discussing the weather ahead of time. Ooh, tomorrow it looks like it's gonna be very cold. You can check your app, you can ask Alexa, go online, whatever it is. If your child if that's something that would be beneficial to you, you can have that discussion and help them, plan for what it is they're gonna need the next day. Any kind of visual supports or reminders you might need for dressing, same thing. These can be modified for dressing, whether it's, open closet door, open drawer, pull out socks, close drawer, put sock on right foot, put sock on left foot, whatever it is, wherever you're starting, you can just break it down. And timers are very handy. If we're trying to make the bus, or mom or dad is leaving in 10 minutes, or we have to be dressed in 10 minutes before we have breakfast, whatever it is, you can have that timer on. And these are great things to practice on the weekend too. I know a lot of times on the weekend we're all just exhausted from the week and we're taking a break. But it's important to make sure that you use some of these same routines on the weekend so that they can get that continuity. We already talked about, oh, that was the last one. Thanks, Misty. So here again, here's the little getting dressed routine, sequence of steps. Lot of variation here. Oh my goodness, I've had parents say, I want them to learn how to take a shirt off the hanger. I want them to learn how to put their dirty clothes in the hamper. You know, that can be incorporated in a dressing routine. It just depends on the skill level. But again, here's some ideas: checking the weather, laying clothes out, taking your pajamas off, and that's a good time to for them to know, okay, well, my dirty clothes go in this basket, or that's an easy one to kind of pop in there. Put on underwear, shirt, pants, shorts, socks, and shoes.
And again, all of these handouts are pretty generic, just to give you an example of what something could look like.
Mm-hmm.
We are always happy to customize, like she said, or to have as many steps as you need, or to simplify it. If it's just your kid just needs to put clothes on, they don't need all the individual steps, that's fine too. Maybe sometimes they want to put their shirt on and then their shorts, or they want to put their shorts on and then their shirt. Like, that part is not as important, because we can work on customizing that later. So again, these are just all very generic kind of examples to give you an idea of some things you could use or try. And then here we kind of have, I have all the kind of handouts that we talked about linked. We also have paper copies if you're interested in any of those. Here's some books and video links, like Potty with Elmo, Daniel Goes to the Potty, Princess Potty. There's all sorts of variety of toileting.
It's amazing what's available online.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say too, I just lost my train of thought. Something about, oh yes, with dressing, again, at school, a lot of our kids are dressing out for PE. So we have natural times where we can practice that. It's getting colder, the seasons are changing. Some of these kids don't like to put on jackets, or that's something that we need to practice. Motor planning, being able to put it on. Zipping, absolutely. Requesting that I'm cold, I need my jacket, all those things. But I've had kids that, at home they don't wear shoes, because that's just a rule, we don't wear shoes at home. So when they get to school, they usually take their shoes and socks off. And that's part of what they're used to in their home environment. And as long as they're safe at school, I've had situations where we've worked around that. If they prefer to be barefoot, they're learning better, and they're just being able to function better in their environment with their shoes off, they can do that. But we know that, we have to be safe when we go in the hallway. Other people could step on our feet. But that's a great natural way to practice putting shoes and socks off and on. So there's lots of different ways we can incorporate those things. It just depends on what it is the goal is, and what it is that you're really wanting to focus on at home. Because we're definitely here to help, and we know that, one day these kiddos aren't going to be ours anymore, and we want them to be as independent as possible moving forward. And this is not only going to help them, but it's going to also help you all too. So.